Good afternoon. My name is Rob Chichester. I am a native of Washington, D.C. I grew up in D.C. I went to public school in D.C. In my junior year of high school, the National Park Service came to our school to present an environmental awareness program that they were offering based on the historic Chesapeake lightship. If you've been to Baltimore, you've seen her in the Inner Harbor. Part of their slides showed boys who were my age at the time working on the ship, line handling, steering, the whole 9 yards. And I thought, why not me? So I applied, and I wound up working there for 2 years. Eventually, I wound up being the skipper of a 45-foot tugboat, which is, kind of a cool thing for a kid who's 17 years old. It beat the heck out of flipping hamburgers. But in the meantime, college was looming, and off I go to become an engineer, and it was some 14 years before I actually get back on the water under my own steam, so to speak. And I just began chartering and doing, sailing recreationally on the Chesapeake Bay. Mind you, I should back up a little bit. Before all of us left the lightship, the captain, who was retired Navy, brought in the Coast Guard to talk to all of us because they were looking to recruit, qualified candidates. And a bunch of us were looking to get our licenses. And the officers said, well, you really have to be 18. And we were all like 17 at that point. So we all just kind of were crestfallen and walked away thinking, nuts. What he should have said was, you can't take the exam until you turn 18. So we walked away from it, and one of the big hurdles for a lot of people who are getting a license is you have to demonstrate 90 days of sea time in the last 3 years. So if you're not working full-time in the industry, and you've got some other job that you're working on, as I did, it's difficult to come up with 90 days of sea time in 3 years. So I lost that window from being on the Chesapeake, because it's now, years later. Let me fast forward about 40 years. And about 6 years ago, I bought a boat finally. I said to my wife, look, the kids aren't going to college, so we can take that money and do something else with it. So, it suddenly became possible, and we were out sailing today on that boat. But having purchased it, I was then able to get the 90 days and 3 years of recency. And based on my sea time on the Chesapeake, I qualified for a 100-ton, initial 100-ton license. Just this past spring, I upgraded to 200 tons, again, based on my Chesapeake light service line. What do? Well, I have a little small business. I offer sail training, I offer vessel relocation. Those are kind of the smaller parts of my business. I offer weekend cruises on my boat out of Rock Hall, 2 and 3 day weekend trips. My cook is sitting right here. I think people come for her more than me. But part of the experience is when we're out with clients, I talk about the history of the bay. I talk about my personal family history on the bay. I have some evidence that my African ancestors came in through Annapolis as cargo and wound up in Fauquier County, Virginia. So I talk about that, and I'm writing an article now. I'm jumping ahead too fast. Let me slow down a little bit. So anyway, I do that, and I also offer, right now, about once a year, I go overseas and run trips over there for 10 to 12 people. We just came back from France doing canal boats, and last year it was Greece. Next year it's the Amalfi Coast of Italy. So I have business cards if you need. But the big thing for me this year was this. I came into this year and I'm thinking I've got to find a way to work my license more professionally, I will say. So I applied to a lot of different things. I'm thinking, okay, well, you know, the boat's in Rock Hall, I got family still in DC, I can apply to jobs in Baltimore and Annapolis and DC, and I can always stay at my sister's house, blah, 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 blah. Didn't pan out really well, because I live in New Jersey right now. And well, that's not the hard part. The hard part is, what I found is that in the commercial day boat, water taxi, dinner boat type businesses right now, it's almost like, and I hate to use the term, but it's almost like slave labor. They want to pick up the phone at 12 o'clock on Monday and say, can you work the 5 o'clock shift tonight? Well, no, I can't. So that made me ineligible in a lot of eyes because I couldn't be there on demand. Later in the spring, someone I know through my sailing activities called me and said, Rob, I'd like you to send me your credentials. She says, we're looking for a relief captain, and I'd like to submit you for that position. And this was the Bayshore Center in Bivalve, New Jersey, who owns the A.J. Mearwald that's here this weekend. So I've been training all year on the A.J. Mearwald for relief captain, and it's been fantastic. You know, Captain Briggs and his crew are just an excellent bunch of people. It's been a fun experience. I did the Great Chesapeake Bay Schooner Race 2 weeks ago. Had the 1 to 7 a.m. night watch, joy. But the takeaway for me for that experience was on Saturday, there was a pig roast where they had the announcing of the race results and handing out awards and this sort of thing. And there were a couple of hundred people there, you know, and I'm looking around and I'm looking around, and I was the only person of color anywhere to be seen. Even amongst the police officers, the food service workers, the runners, the vendors, and as if to make the point about how you have to know someone to get somewhere, I'm talking to some of the crew members from the Mearwald, and a woman who manages the schooner Woodwind from Annapolis comes walking through the crowd, just very casually saying, looking for a full-time captain for the Woodwind, looking for a full-time captain for the Woodwind. So if you're not there, you don't hear about that opportunity. If I don't have someone who works at Bayshore Center who says, Rob, send me your credentials, I don't know about the A.J. Mearwald. And I'm in the midst of writing an essay on this whole thing right now, but it wasn't a bitter experience for me, it was more of a revelation. And the issue is not, you know, I'm not looking to blame anybody for anything, because that's not the point here. The point is, how do you change the future to help people see that there are careers in maritime industry that are available, but you have to pursue them? You know, I think when I grew up, you know, my mother would always say, don't you want to be a doctor? No, Ma. Digging in someone's guts and hearing their problems, no, don't want to do that. You know, so there's a cultural thing where we want, you know, doctors and lawyers and teachers and whatnot, but the maritime industry is a very proud and proper profession. I didn't get my license until I was 50 some odd years old. I'm not doing the math right now. And it was one of the, you know, proudest things in my life, but the opportunity to be on the Mearwald, and next year, you know, knowing I'll have a chance to be her master, you know, without having a tutor over my shoulder is a moment which is rather moving for me. So, my being here today is, again, total serendipity. I came down to visit the crew on the Meerwald, and I was hoodwinked into coming. And, I haven't considered myself a waterman per se. I mean, this gentleman down here who has worked, oystering, to me, that's, the watermen, the guys who are out there, knee deep in muck and cold and wet, year in, year out, working hard for a living. Those are the people I have to respect, because they can, take a sniff of the water and know where they are within, 10 yards. And, that's a history which is somewhat lost. I read a book, I don't know, about a dozen years ago, Jeffrey Bolster's Blackjacks. It's an academic research paper, basically. It's a little difficult to